Also, as people who work for the Lagos State government and in particularly who work with children, there are certain things we need to look out for in children. So we know our students, we interact with them on a daily basis. Children spend more time in school than they actually spend at home. So there are certain things that will tell you if something is going wrong with a child. So, for instance, a child who had prior to that time been very active in class, performance, grades, very talkative, you know, all of a sudden becomes withdrawn, is not performing well in school, less talkative, and so on and so forth. These signs should be a source of concern for you, and you need to probe a bit further. There are other children who manifest in a different way. So prior to that time, they're usually very quiet, introverted, and all of a sudden they're so talkative, they're all proactive, they're everywhere, they're doing things that ordinarily they do not do. Something is wrong somewhere. You need to start questioning and seeking more information about what is going on with the child, perhaps in school or sometimes even from home. Sometimes you see a child perpetually having bruises, and these bruises are not bruises sustained perhaps in school. You need to start asking questions. What is going on? Why is this child sustaining injuries all the time? There's usually an explanation for it. But if you do not seek further information, you're not likely to get. And before you know it, the child becomes damaged. So, for instance, a child who keeps skipping school, missing school, and you notice that this child is perpetually missing school and you're not raising any concern about it, it becomes a cause for concern because you, as the teacher of the child, should ordinarily look out for the interest of the child. First, you're thinking about the academics because if a child continues to skip school, then the child is not likely to learn properly and is not likely to perform well in school. So that should be a source for concern for you. But on the other hand, it could be because the child is experiencing something, some level of violence in the home, and that is why he or she is being prevented from coming to school so that people do not notice. So you need to take it a step further, raising awareness, raising concern with the appropriate authorities, and letting them know that something is not right with the child. So these are some of the signs you need to look out for when you're dealing with children. Look out for their character manifestation. If there's a change or a shift in their normal character, you should raise concern. If it's increased or decreased, then there's a reason. If a child suddenly becomes always teary, always crying at the slightest provocation or anything happens around them, they break down and start to cry. There could be something more to it than just the crying. You need to probe a bit further. You could, interview the child. You could, engage the school counselor or the social worker that is attached to your school to probe a bit further and find out what is going on with the child. And so we also realized through the VAC survey that a lot of children who are experiencing violence or abuse are not speaking out. They're not talking. And that is because they exhibit that fear that if I talk, something more grave or graver could happen to me. So we need to sensitize children to make them understand that speaking up is the best thing they could do to themselves. If they are experiencing anything that they're not comfortable with, they need to speak up. They need to seek help. Again, when children want to seek help, they do not know where to seek help from. So we also need to engage them, give them information about how to seek help. Who do they approach? Because they would not want to talk to just anybody about what they're going through. So you need to make them know or understand who to approach when they need to speak out. The designated officer must be one that is well known to all the children. The counselors must be well known to them, and you let them know they can seek help. But if, for instance, one of the people who they're supposed to to disclose abuse to are the ones who are abusing them. Give them more information about telephone numbers they can call, who they can go to, to report cases of abuse. Just generally sensitize them on how and where to reach for help so that they know what to do at every point in time and they can, better protect themselves from harm.